Good evening all my dear favorite students. This is Dr. Anisha from Sri Chaitanya Educational Institutions. Once again welcome you all for our NEET Bridge 2025 courses for the exams of NEET 2027. So here we are again starting with the fun-filled classes of zoology where we are learning various topics that will be very helpful for you in your future classes for your actual NEET examinations. Alright. So we have done various aspects of zoology, various points, various common points which are going to be very helpful for you. You might miss them during your actual lectures or your actual classes. Yes, good evening to all. But in certain cases, you will find out that these lectures, these points, these things which you are learning here right now will be very helpful for the actual lectures, for the actual classes. So let's start here again, let's start the studies again. We have studied till the, okay, so many good evening today, so many, thank you so much. I am really overwhelmed with your greetings, thank you so much, thank you all of you. Okay, so we were continuing the animal kingdom, right? So animal kingdom, the kingdom which contains all the organisms which have the characteristics to be called as an animal. Now the animal kingdom here, we were studying about the various aspects of their life processes, how do they respire, how do they move around, how do they circulate their blood as well as different type of body fluids. So we were discussing all these. We were discussing the reproductive system, and here in the reproductive system again we have reached the point where we will be studying with the process of metamorphosis. Yesterday we have studied the reproductive system, and in the reproductive system we studied about the process of fertilization, different types of fertilization, external, internal fertilization, and the development of the organism, development of young organism in different type of animals. It can be of two types, it can be a direct development, it can be a indirect development. Now in case of indirect development, there is a presence of larval stages. The fertilized egg will grow into a larva, maybe another stage called as pupa, and then into an adult organism. Whereas in direct development, we have seen organisms, they directly come out in the miniature form of the adult organism. So where will you find out the direct organism? The example of direct fertilization, or we can say the direct development, can be seen in case of animals like reptiles, the birds, where the fertilized eggs directly changes into the organism. Whereas the frogs, they generate an intermediate state called as the tadpole larva. So that is a indirect development. So direct and indirect development we have studied. Now we are coming to the ways of indirect development, which is called as metamorphosis. Now what is metamorphosis? Metamorphosis is the process by which gradually an organism becomes a larva and a pupa and then into an adult organism stage. Now what is these structures? This is an example of indirect development. In case of direct development, we have seen the examples. I hope you now understood what are the examples of the direct development. Now we are coming to the examples of indirect development. In case of indirect development, there will be a stage of fertilized egg where the fertilized egg will change into a larval stage, the larva will change into a pupa stage, and finally it changes into an adult organism. Alright? So how does that happen? The process happens, the egg ruptures, egg comes out of its membrane and changes into a structure which is completely different from the adult organism. That is the basic difference between a direct and indirect development. In case of direct development, for example, in case of birds, if the egg ruptures, if the egg bursts, the organism that comes out, it is the miniature form of the bird itself. But here what happens? This miniature form is completely different from the actual structure or actual characteristics of the adult. This is called as the larva stage. The larva sometimes may have the many outer layers over their surface. they have different types of movement structures, their feeding habit is different, they stay at a different place than the actual adult organism. So that is how a larva is completely different in its structure, in its physiological features than the adult organism. Similarly, the pupa, the larva further changes itself into another structure, the caterpillar structure. We can call it a pupa stage. Sometimes in some of the organisms, there are presence of the various types of larva. Different larval stages are present. Pupa stages may not be there always, but in most of the organisms, in most of the cases of the metamorphosis, there is the presence of pupa stage. And finally, the pupa changes into the adult organism. The adult organism changes as the insect having the wings, they have these structures, they have well developed reproductive structures, they have a different feeding habit, as well as they live in a very different place than the egg or the larva or the pupa. So that is how the metamorphosis occurs. The metamorphosis is the gradual change from the fertilized egg into the larva, sometimes even in the pupa stage, and finally changing into the adult stage. Why am I calling the pupa stage as the sometimes? Because not all the organisms that are showing metamorphosis will have the pupa stage. Maybe they have a single larva stage, maybe they are having multiple larval stage and no pupa stage, or maybe they have larva as well as pupa stage before becoming an adult. So these are the different type of metamorphosis stages. Now metamorphosis based on these stages can be of two types here. What are the different stages of metamorphosis and what are the different types of metamorphosis? So metamorphosis here we can say, see here, it is the complete metamorphosis and another is called as incomplete metamorphosis. Now what is a complete and an incomplete metamorphosis? See here in case of complete metamorphosis, just now we have read about the metamorphosis which is actually complete metamorphosis. Why is it complete? Because it is undergoing all the changes and all the stages of its life cycle. For example, the fertilized egg is becoming a larva, the larva is becoming a pupa, and the pupa is further changing itself into an insect, a complete full grown insect, that is the butterfly here. Okay, so these are the various stages it is going through for becoming an adult. Alright, but what is happening here, see here, in this case the egg is present, the fertilized egg further changes into a well developed larval stages. These larval stages have different names even, but here in this case we are taking this larval stage as nymph. Okay, different insects, different organisms have different type of larval stages. So now here as an example we have taken an example of larva called as nymph. So egg becomes the larval stages. The larval stages do not undergo the stage of the pupa stage. Multiple larval stages are present. This is first larval stage, second larval stage, third larval stage. So they have multiple larval stages which finally changes into an well grown adult organism. So what is happening in this case? The metamorphosis is not undergoing the stages of the pupa. Instead, 2-3 different larval stages will be there and then it becomes an adult organism. So such type of metamorphosis in which different stages might be absent are called as incomplete metamorphosis. So there is complete metamorphosis and there is incomplete metamorphosis. In case of complete metamorphosis, each and every stages of development will be present, like the fertilized egg becomes the larva, pupa and then into an adult. And each of these structures are different from each other structure wise, physiology wise as well as different process wise. Whereas in this case, in the incomplete metamorphosis, there will be fertilized egg changes into 2 to 3 types of different larval stages with no pupa stage and then finally it becomes an adult organism. So such type of metamorphosis where one or more stages can be absent are incomplete metamorphosis. Now which all organisms show the complete metamorphosis and which all other organisms show incomplete metamorphosis? Complete metamorphosis can be seen in the examples like butterfly, what else? The dragonfly, these will show the complete metamorphosis. Incomplete metamorphosis, it is seen in cockroach, mantis, praying mantis, etc. Even the ant, bee, wasp, they all show the complete metamorphosis. Silkworm, they show the complete metamorphosis, whereas the cockroach, praying mantis and many other flying insects, they show the incomplete metamorphosis. So these are the different type of metamorphosis, and I am sure now you have understood what are the different type of metamorphosis are. Now we are moving on to the next part. What is it? It is the reproductive cycle. So now reproductive cycle is a very important part of the females of different groups. Commonly the mammalian group. Reproductive cycle is most important in the mammalian females. Okay, so it is the characteristic features of mammalian female. Characteristic feature of mammalian female. Alright, so it is the characteristic feature of mammalian female. Now this mammalian female, how it is performing these functions? They have two type of reproductive cycle. Two type of reproductive cycles are present. Now what are the two types of reproductive cycle? One, it is the estrous cycle. Another, it is the menstrual cycle. Two types of reproductive cycles are present in the mammalian females. One is the estrous cycle, another is the menstrual cycle. Estrous cycle, it is present in a group of organisms or a group of mammals called as non-primates, present in the non-primate females. Whereas menstrual cycle is the reproductive cycle present in the primate females. They are present in primate females. Non-primate females, what are these organisms? Non-primate females are the organisms. First of all, we have to understand the terminology primate. What is a primate? Which organisms are called as primates? Primates are nothing but the organisms, for example, cow, dog, donkey, you can name any organism, horse, all of these are considered to be the non-primate organism. Then what are primate organisms? Because non-primates are these ones which we know commonly. So who all will be included as the primate organisms? Primate organisms are the ones which belong to the order Primata. One order is there called Primata, in which different organisms are included. So order Primata organisms, they are the chimpanzee, gorilla, orangutan, humans, gibbons. So we can see the organisms which we think to be our ancestors. So these are the monkey, chimpanzee, gorilla, orangutan, chimpanzee, gibbon, humans. All of these whole group of organisms are considered to be primata. So they are called as primates. These organisms are called as primates. The reproductive cycle in the primate females are called as the menstrual cycle, whereas the reproductive cycle of the non-primate females like cow, dog, donkey, horse, any other organism other than this, any mammal you can think of other than these primates are the non-primates. So these non-primates have a reproductive cycle called as estrous cycle. Now what is estrous cycle? What is difference of the estrous and menstrual cycle? So estrous cycle is the characteristic feature of all the non-primate female. It is the characteristic feature of non-primate females, and in case of non-primate females, the endometrial shedding in case of the estrous cycle does not take place. So what happens? Uterine layers do not shed. You are going to study them in detail when we will be studying the actual topic here. So, but before that, estrous cycle you need to know, because that is a major difference between a primate and a non-primate in a mammalian female. So, estrous cycle in this case, non-primate females, they are present and they do not shed the uterine layers. Uterine layers do not shed during the cycle. During the cycle, the uterine layers are not shed, and there is a gap phase. A gap is present, a gap phase called anestrus phase present. Anestrus phase present after every estrous cycle. So estrous cycle, basically it is commonly called as the heat period, where the female produces larger amount of the body heat because of the higher amount of the hormone called as estrogen. Estrogen is a thermogenic or a body temperature increasing hormone. The hormone level increases in this period, which is called as heat period, and this is commonly called as the breeding period in these animals. This is also called as the breeding period in these animals. And in this case, there are no shedding of the uterine endometrium layer, and there is a gap present after each of the estrous cycle. The gap is called as anestrus phase. I know this might sound little confusing to you, but these are again going to be very useful for you when you will be studying them in the actual classes. Now we are coming to the menstrual cycle. Now how is it different? Menstrual cycle is present in all the primate females. So it is the characteristic of all the primate females. Present in primate females. They are the characteristic of all the primate females. And in case of the primate females, we can see uterine shedding takes place. Uterine shedding occurs. Uterine shedding occurs, and it is a continuous cycle without any gap. It is a continuous cycle without any gap. Alright. So this is the basic difference between an estrous cycle and a menstrual cycle. In case of estrous cycle, the female non-primate organism will be in the heat period because of the high body heat due to the hormone. And in case of the menstrual cycle, as such, throughout the cycle, the level of the hormone changes, as a result of which the body temperature also changes. The menstrual cycle shows the shedding of the uterine endometrium layer, whereas in estrous cycle, there is no shedding of the uterine layer, and estrous cycle shows the phase of anestrus layer or anestrus days in which there is no activity of the reproductive cycle. So after each estrous cycle, there is anestrus phase and then another heat period begins. In case of menstrual cycle, it is a continuous process and there is no gap present in between them. So these are the basic differences between estrous and menstrual cycle. So here we have studied different patterns and different types of the reproductive system. different types of the circulatory system as well as the digestive system, nervous system, based on which the whole of the animal kingdom is divided. Now we are moving on to the next part, that is each and every phylum. We will be starting our discussion about the each and every phylum just in brief in today's class. So we are starting with the phylum Porifera. Okay. So here we are, the phylum Porifera, starting with the phylum Porifera. So phylum Porifera it is. Alright. I am very sure you all have studied about the phylum Porifera. We have discussed about the phylum Porifera. Why are they called as poriferans? They are called as poriferans because they are pore-bearing organisms. They contain pore throughout their body. That is why they are called as poriferans. Now what are these pores? See, if we see the organism structure like this, the organism almost like this. This organism, an example of the Porifera, has multiple pores on its body. Multiple pores are present throughout its body. These pores help in their everyday function. These pores are useful for their everyday functions. These small pores are called as the ostia. These are the small pores which are present throughout their body are called as ostia. I am very sure you remember the meaning of pores because pores we have studied earlier also. The word meaning of pores is holes or the aperture. So the simple pores which is present throughout the structure of the body, these are called as ostia. Alright. So now moving on to the structure of the Porifera. How do we start studying each and every phylum? That is going to be very important. See, there are 11 phylum present and reading them or learning them by each and every point is a little tough job. But there is a strategy to read them. How do we read them? How do we study them? While studying any of the phylum in animal kingdom, what we need to focus on is these basic points. We will divide each and every phylum in the basic points which each and every phylum will have, and we will compare them from one another, and we will be easily able to remember them for long time. So we will start each and every point, each and every concept or each and every characteristics of these phylum separately. Phylum Porifera, we will read these points. In case of the phylum Coelentrates, again we are going to study them in that way. So each and every phylum will be studied like these strategies, so that if you remember the points sequentially, you can just fill the blanks and you can easily remember, you can easily identify the characteristic of the phylum. So let's start studying here. The poriferan, the pore-bearing organisms. Now pore-bearing organisms, what are their characteristics? The first characteristic is the habit. Most of the poriferans, they are sedentary in nature. Habit means what are they look like or what are their characteristic like, what do they eat, what do they like. So these organisms, habit is they are sedentary. The word sedentary means non-motile. It is also regarded as sessile. These are all same terminologies, sedentary or sessile, or we can say non-motile. So these are the organisms which are sedentary in nature. We can say they do not move. We know all the animals move, but these are the organisms which live at one place, do not move around much because they are sessile or non-motile in nature. Okay. So these organisms are sedentary in nature. They are present in which type of water? Present in warm water. They are not found in cold water. Why? Because it is a very simple concept. They are animals. In cold water, these animals cannot survive. How will their enzymes work? How will all the functions will work? So they all live in warm water. warm temperature or warm water. They do not survive in cold or chilled water. They need warm water. They do not need even boiling water also. Neither it should be very cold, nor it should be boiling hot water. They live in warm water which has a temperature range of 15-20 degrees Celsius up to 30-35-38 degrees Celsius. So this mid-range of water temperature they can tolerate. Why? Because they are organisms which are animals. They live in a normal temperature. 25 to 35 degrees Celsius is the most ideal temperature. So they live in warm water. Their habitat. Habitat means the place of living, the place where they stay. So where are they staying? They are living in water. So they are called as the aquatic organisms. Now in our first class also we have studied how do we divide or how do we differentiate the aquatic organisms. Some of the aquatic organisms can be freshwater organisms, some can be terrestrial, some can be in case of marine water organisms. So here we have seen the aquatic organisms can be freshwater forms, the freshwater forms as well as the marine water forms. Okay, some of the organisms are freshwater as well as marine water forms. All of them are aquatic. They do not live in the land. They do not live anywhere else. They all are immersed inside the water. They all are aquatic. Some are freshwater, some are marine water. Now here we are again. Level of organization. Level of organization means we have seen how do their body function or what these bodies are made up of. Now the function of each and every structure, each and every organ system. For example, the process of digestion, the process of respiration, the process of circulation. How do we see these things happening inside them? They are performing these functions with the help of different cells. So that is called as cellular level of organization. This is called as cellular level of organization. Another is the body symmetry. Now what is body symmetry that we have studied? We can call an organism to be symmetric if we can cut them into two equal halves which passes through their midline or the central axis. In these cases, if you see the diagram, see the photo here, you cannot cut the organism into two exact equal halves. There are no two equal halves present. Here also you cannot cut them into two equal halves. So these organisms are not organisms which we can cut them into two equal halves. So these organisms are called as asymmetric organisms mostly. Mostly they are asymmetric organisms. Okay. Next it is the body plan. Now what is body plan? How the body is arranged, that is called as the body plan. How the body is arranged, how the body has many of its function. So we have studied the body plan as the tube within tube as well as the blind sac. In this case, since the body is made up of cells only, or the primary functions like nutrition, digestion, respiration, circulation, everything is done by the cells itself. So it is called as cell aggregate body plan. It shows cell aggregate body plan. Okay. So cell aggregate body plan is present because all the functions of the body are performed by cells only. So that is called as cell aggregate body plan. Germ layers. How do these germ layers react? What is this germ layers? We have studied the zygote divides. It divides into 2 cell, 4 cell, 8 cell, 16 multiple cells. And finally, 3 germ layers are produced. The outermost ectoderm, innermost endoderm, and the middle one is mesoderm. So 3 germ layers are present, but in these organisms, 3 germ layers are not produced. They are very primitive organisms in which we will see only 2 germ layers. Now what are these 2 germ layers? One is ectoderm and another is endoderm. Since they have only 2 germ layers, they are called as diploblastic. So these organisms are called as diploblastic organisms. because they have only two germ layers, ectoderm and endoderm. Now coelom or the body cavity, this is another one. Coelom, I have told you, if you remember, will be present in the organisms with only 3 germ layers. Below 3 germ layers, no true coelom or body cavity will be present. So in this case, what we see, the coelom will be present here. Now the coelom is body cavity. A cavity is present inside the body, but it is not a true coelom because they do not have mesoderm. No mesoderm, no covering of mesoderm throughout the body cavity, no true coelom. Because to call a space coelom, it should be present between ecto and endoderm, and it should be completely covered with mesoderm. If you don't remember it, go to the previous of the videos where I have mentioned these. You will learn about the definition of coelom there. So coelom only it will be called if the cavity between ecto and endoderm will be completely lined by mesoderm. So if no mesoderm is there, there is no question of coelom present. So they are acoelomate organism. They do not have true coelom. They are acoelomate organism. So these are the important characteristics which are present in the phylum Porifera. So see here how easily we have covered all the important characteristics of the phylum Porifera, right? Now the habitat, level of organization, cellular level, body symmetry, asymmetric, body plan, cell aggregate plan, because all the functions are performed by the cells. The germ layers, diploblastic, 2 germ layers are present. Coelom, acoelomate, no true cavity, no true body cavity or true coelom is present. So they are acoelomate. So these are the important characteristics in a nutshell about the phylum Porifera. Now if they ask question, any question related to the general characters of the phylum Porifera is asked to you, I am very sure you are going to answer them very well, because these are the ones they are going to ask them. Okay. Now here we are starting with another important terminology or another important characteristic about the phylum Porifera, which is present in all the poriferans and the most important characteristic feature of all the poriferans, that is the water canal system. The water canal system of the phylum Porifera. So now we are starting with the water canal system. Now what is this water canal system? Water canal system, as you can see here, it is a system which is made up of different type of pores in the body's structure. We know the name Porifera. Porifera are pore bearing animals. Now these pore bearing animals, they have pores, miniature pores, large number in their body, all over their body. Now these miniature or these small pores or these holes present in their body gives them the name Porifera. But what are the uses of these pores? You must have thought of it, or no, I don't know. But you should be thinking about it, what these pores are actually doing on their body. Multiple holes or multiple pores are present throughout their body. Now what is happening to these pores, or what are the functions of these pores? With the help of these small pores, there are 2 types of pores present. These small pores which are called as the ostia, and one large pore, it is called as the osculum. Many small pores are present, see here in the diagram, many small pores are present which are called as the ostia, and one single large pore is present which is called as the osculum. And inside this space or this body cavity, this is not a true cavity, this is just a space inside its body. Now the space inside its body is called as spongocele. Okay. Now if we come to the pathway of water, what is the use of this pores we will see now. Now the pathway of water, if we see, so the water enters through ostia. Okay. The water enters through ostia. Now what happens? The water then circulates throughout the parts of the body cavity called as spongocoel. Okay. Water circulates in the body. Water circulates in the body, which is called as spongocoel. Throughout the body, the water will be circulating. Throughout the body, the water will be circulating. And next what happens? The water will be released through osculum, through the structure called as osculum. Through the osculum, water will be released out. Through osculum, the water will be releasing out. Through osculum, water exits. Okay. Through osculum, the water exits. So that is how different ways the water is entering through the ostia, circulating in the spongocoel and is exiting through the osculum. This system is called as water canal system. Water canal system is the most important characteristic feature of all the sponges or all the poriferans. Alright. So this is the most important characteristic feature of all the sponges or all the poriferans. Now we are coming to another important part. The important part is which all organisms are considered or which all organisms having this water canal system, and why do we have this water canal system? What is the use of the water canal system? The function of the water canal system. Now we have understood the function. Now we have understood how the water canal system works. It enters through the ostia, circulates in the spongocoel, leaves through the osculum. Now what is the function of water canal system? The function of water canal system. What is the function of water canal system? Okay, so now you can think of the first function. What will be the first function? The first function will be they will bring food inside the body. That is how they feed, because they cannot move. So the water has to enter inside it. So they bring food. They bring food. It helps in the process of nutrition. They bring food into the body. Into the body. Alright. That is their primary function. They bring food into the body. Next, what is the function? They bring respiratory gases. They bring respiratory gases. They bring the respiratory gases. Third, they help in excretion. They help in excretion and they help in sexual reproduction. So these are the primary functions of the water canal system. So these are the primary function of water canal system, because the water canal system helps in, they bring the food into the body, they bring in the food, they help in bringing the oxygen, dissolved oxygen inside the body cavity, they take out the carbon dioxide, or they help in the process of excretion, and also helps in the process of sexual reproduction. How do they help in sexual reproduction? They bring sperm or the male gamete from another organism into a different organism's body through this water canal system. So these are the different functions of water canal system in these sponges, which are the most important characteristic feature of all these sponges. If you have not written it, write it down. These are the most important characteristic of water canal system, which is the most important part of these sponges. Now we are here, the examples of these sponges. Now what are the examples of the sponges? The examples of these sponges, if you see, what all example we have seen? See, these are the examples, very simple examples, 2 or 3 examples. There are many examples of the poriferans or the sponges, but we are going to discuss here about few of the examples which is important from the point of view of your exams. So first, it is the cycon, commonly called as kypha, also called as urn sponge, also called as urn sponge. These organisms we have seen earlier also. So these are urn sponge or cycon or kypha. These are freshwater sponges, commonly called as the freshwater sponges, which are spongilla, scientifically known as spongilla. Freshwater sponges, scientifically known as spongilla. And these are commonly known as bark sponge, scientifically known as Euspongia. So these are the organisms which you are going to study for your exams. These are the examples given in your textbook. So these are urn sponge, the freshwater sponge and the bark sponge. So these are the different type of examples of the phylum Porifera. In the next class, we will be studying about other phylum also comparatively in small details and about their examples. So here we are again. Thank you everyone, and keep studying, keep doing well in your exams and stay healthy. Thank you.